You got a new Mac, congratulations. And now you're trying to figure out how do you set it up to get the most out of it. Well, my name is Ryan. I've been using the Mac for 15 years. I'm a pro user. I like to customize the Mac to make sure I'm getting the most out of it and so that I can focus on my work. I recently got a 14-inch MacBook Pro, and this is how I set it up and the shortcuts I use on a regular basis. I'm sure some of it will be useful for you, so let's get started. So the first thing I do is remove any apps from the dock that I'm not using. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, especially at work when people leave built-in default apps on the dock and they don't use it. Just clean it up. The dock should only be showing apps that you use on a regular basis. I also like to make sure the dock is on the left-hand side. This gives me the most reading space from top to bottom. I also like to make sure the dock is a tad bit smaller, so you can adjust that. And then for the downloads folder, I like to sort by date modified, display as a stack so I can see the icons, and then view content as a grid. This allows me to drag files out of the downloads folder without having to open up Finder. And then I open up Activity Monitor. I usually like to show the CPU history on the dock icon, but the M1 Max is so powerful, it really doesn't fluctuate very much, so I'm thinking that this practice is probably going to end pretty soon. So the next thing I do is set up spaces. I forget if it's set up by default, but on the trackpad, if you use 3 fingers and swipe up, it'll let you get to spaces. You can add additional desktops. I normally use 3. I have the first desktop dedicated to email. The second one is dedicated to the current project I'm working on, so any applications needed for that. And then the third one is dedicated to music. Inside of System Preferences, first Desktop and Screensaver, I have a folder of images I've taken. I like to use these as backgrounds, so I select that and then I change picture every 30 minutes in random order. In the dock and menu bar, I uncheck Show Recent Applications in Dock. I use a launcher to open up applications, so I don't like the additional clutter on the dock. Under Mission Control, I turn off Automatically Rearrange Spaces based on most recent use. Like I said, I have a system for spaces, so I like to keep it in order. Then for hot corners, the top right should be desktop. If you are trying to select icons off the desktop, it's going to be the top right, so might as well make that your shortcut. For example, if you take a screenshot and you're wanting to throw it into a document, all you have to do is switch to the document, throw your mouse in the top right corner, select the screenshot, throw your mouse in the corner, and then you can put it back in. Any other corner would just make that process a lot longer. And then in Monterey, they added Quick Note as another option for hot corners. I'm playing around with this. I'm not really finding much use for it, so I'll probably end up turning it off, but it's an option. Again, another place to check out what's available to you. And under Accessibility, under Zoom, I like to turn on Use Scroll Gesture with modifier keys to zoom. This is a quick way to be able to highlight a portion of your screen to somebody sitting next to you. I'll show you an example of this at the end of the video. And if you have an Apple Watch, go to Security and Privacy, and then General, and then turn on Use your Apple Watch to unlock apps and your Mac. This just makes it a quick login for your computer. And then under Sound, I turn off Startup Sounds, Interface Sounds. I just like my computer being as quiet as possible. And then under Touch ID, I do add other fingers just for easy access. And then under the keyboard, go to Modifier Keys and change your caps lock to Control. Because I use shortcuts so often, Control is much easier to access when it's on the caps lock key instead of where it is on the keyboard under the pinky. And then under Text, there is text expansion available to you. I happen to use a third-party app for this, but I want to let you know what is available built into the Mac. And then if you're going to use spaces, go to Shortcuts and then go to Mission Control and then enable the shortcuts for switching desktops. This just makes it a lot easier to use spaces. And then under the trackpad, this is where you can turn on Expose. This is that 3-finger swipe we were talking about earlier. I don't use it very often, but it does come in handy occasionally. And there's a bunch of other options here you should check out as well. And then if you have multiple displays, you can change which one is the main desktop by moving the menu bar. This will be where all the icons end up showing up. I normally have this on my bigger monitor. And then under display settings, there is now True Tone, which will adjust the colors based on the ambient light. If you're a designer or photographer, you probably want to turn this off to make sure you're getting true colors on your monitor, but it's good to know that that's available. And the night shift will adjust colors as you get closer to night to get a better night's sleep. I turn this off because I use the third-party app. Now, of course, you don't have to copy all of my preferences. These are mine that I've built up over years. What I'm really trying to do is open up your mind to the fact that the Mac can be customized. So I'd encourage you to look through the rest of System Preferences and see what else might be tweaked that might improve your workflow. So let's customize the Finder and desktop. So if you right click on the desktop, you can use stacks, which will group icons together. So I like to group it by kind. That way all of my screenshots are together, all my movies are together, etc. And then you can click on view options, and this will let you change the icon size or grid spacing. I like the defaults here, so I leave it alone. And then under Finder Preferences, under General, you can turn on external disks. This way your SD card and your external hard drives show up on the desktop. And you can also change the default folder that new Finder windows open up to. That way you can access the folder that you want most often, whether it's your desktop or your home folder. And then you can customize the sidebar as well, so you can change which are your favorites. So I like to make sure to show movies and pictures. You can always drag folders directly into here. You don't have to go through preferences, but it's good to know that you can change it here. And then I don't use tags, so I turn that off. And then under advanced, I do like to change the way that search works. By default, it searches the entire system, but I normally am searching just a current folder, so I change the default to be that. And then under view, I like to going and clicking on show path bar. This will let you see exactly where a folder is located. I often have folders with the same name in multiple parts of the system, so just make sure I know exactly which one I'm looking at. You can always control click on the title bar to see the path, but having it at the bottom just makes it a lot faster. And then let's talk about Finder itself. So you can change the way that you view things, so icon or list view. In list view, you can right click on the columns to add additional columns. Obviously, you can click on the column to sort it. In icon view, if you right click and do sort by, you can actually make sure that the files are automatically sorted so that it's not chaos. I personally prefer the column view and just sort by the name. But even in column view, you can also do group by. So for example, if you wanted to see when were files created, you could do group by date created. Or if you want to see what kind of files they are, you could do group by kind. In most Mac programs, you can also customize the toolbar. I find the defaults here to be sufficient, so I don't adjust this. So the last thing to customize is to open up Archive Utility and go to the Preferences. And then to switch, after expanding, move Archive to Trash. So Archive Utility is the program that unzips zip files. So after you've unzipped it, you don't usually need the zip file anymore, so this will automatically move it to the trash, so you don't have to take that extra step yourself. And then obviously you need to open up the App Store and then download any programs that you've downloaded in the past. We'll talk about actual additional programs and things like that in the next video. If you work on a Mac, I really encourage you to learn the shortcuts of the programs that you use daily and of the Mac operating system. It'll help you save time and get more work done. I want to share with you the system shortcuts I use 90% of the time. In any app, you can do Command, comma, and that will open up Preferences. If you do Command Shift question mark, that will open up the help, and you can start typing right away for the menu item you're looking for. In any app, you can do Command Q to quit it. And then in many apps, you can do Command F for find. Then you can do Command Control F, which will put it to full screen. In text editing, obviously you know about backspace. A lot of people kind of miss the delete inside of Windows. You still have it, it's just Control D for delete. And you can combine these with like commands and options in order to do additional things. So for example, you can do Option backspace, that will delete an entire word. If you do Command backspace, that will delete the entire line. If you want to jump to the front of the line, you can do Command left arrow or right arrow to go to the end of the line. Control A will also go to the beginning. That is a Emacs binding. So if you know Vim versus Emacs, Emacs is the underlining architecture for a lot of the text editing. And you can combine these with Shift. So you can do Command left arrow to select the entire line, or you can do Option left arrow to select an entire word. So you can combine these together to get exactly what you're looking for very quickly. If you do Command Control Space, you'll get an emoji search. On new keyboards on the new Macs, you can hit the globe key to pull up the search as well. Sometimes you just need a plain text editor or to remove formatting from something. In text edit, you can do Command Shift T, and that will switch from rich text to plain text. Command Space is the default for Spotlight. And if you have media selected, you can do Command E to eject it. And then you can do Command Tab to switch between applications. If you hold down Command, you can hit Tab multiple times to go further in. And the nice thing is that if you want to switch between two apps really quickly, you just do Command Tab really quickly. If you do Command Backtick, you can switch between windows within an application. This just lets you navigate windows very quickly. Command W will close individual windows within the application, whereas Command Q closes the entire application. Now, if you have the application switcher open, holding down Command, you can use Tab to go forward and Backtick to go backwards. And if you hover over an application, you can hit Q to close it. If you want to save a file to the desktop, do Command S to save it, and then Command D will switch it to the desktop. And Control-click on the title bar works here as well. And for controlling spaces, Control is your primary key. Control left and right arrow will allow you to jump spaces left and right. And then Control 1, 2, or 3 will allow you to jump directly to that space. Now for applications, if you want to see all open windows, Control up arrow. If you want to see all windows for a particular application, Control down arrow. And then if you want to move a window between spaces, just click it like you normally would on a particular space, and then hit Control 1, 2, or 3 to jump directly to that space. This is much faster than using the Spaces UI at the top. Inside of Finder, when you select an item, you can hit Space to do a quick view. You can do Command Delete to delete the item. And when you have an item selected, you can hit Command I to get the information. This is a good way to see how big a particular folder is. You can also hit Command J to get the Show View options to customize how this folder should be opened up in Finder. And then Command Shift G will allow you to directly type the path to a particular folder. This is a bit more advanced, and it was recently redesigned. I think it looks awesome. Super helpful for jumping to hidden folders. Command Shift 4 will allow you to take a screenshot of any part of your screen. I have it set up to automatically save to my desktop. If you do Command Shift 4 and then hit space, you can actually take a screenshot of a window and it will create a transparent border for you as well. Great for presentations. Command Shift 5 is more of the advanced options, lets you do screenshot or record video like I'm doing right now. And it'll let you control the sizing if you want to do a window or full screen. There's also options which allow you to control where you want the file to be saved to, including if you want to just save it directly to your clipboard so you can paste it somewhere. You can add a timer, and you can also turn off the show floating thumbnail if you don't want that. To quickly move the dock around, you can hold Option Shift and then drag that line left, bottom, or right in order to move the dock. You can do Command Option D to hide the dock. This is great when you want to focus on a couple of windows. Now a quick tip, if you want to hide all the windows of a particular application, you can do Command H. Again, I really recommend opening up System Preferences, going to Keyboard, Shortcuts, and looking through this and seeing what else might apply to your workflow. As an example of that zoom accessibility feature we added earlier, this is Control and two-finger zoom. Really lets you highlight a particular part of the screen. And then another quick tip on moving windows around. I've seen people try to use one finger to move a window around on the trackpad. That's not needed. Use it like a normal trackpad with the buttons at the bottom. Use your thumb to click on the window and then your top finger to actually move it around. It'll give you a lot more dexterity and make it a lot easier to use. Under System Preferences for the trackpad, there's also force click and haptic feedback. I usually experiment with this. It allows you to push hard on a word to be able to get information about it, but it kind of makes the trackpad a little bit harder to use, and you can always right click and click look up in order to get the same information. So I usually turn this off. I know that was a lot of information, but I hope it was beneficial, and hopefully you'll be able to include some of the things into your workflow. For easy reference, I'll create a blog post and link that in the description. In my next video, I'm going to go through the apps I downloaded when setting up my computer, so if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe. One last tip, never walk away from your computer leaving it awake. That's bad security practice. Always put it to sleep. On older Macs, it's Command Option Eject. On newer Macs, Command Option